Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's talk about the fight that happened at heavyweight this last weekend between unbeaten Tyson Fury and former cruiserweight champion Steve Cunningham. Now, do you remember the 1990s? Do you remember Bernard Hopkins? Before the Trinidad fight, before Hopkins was politically correct. You remember Hopkins had some fights, the Robert Allen fight, where it looked like it was a wrestling match, more than a boxing match. You understood that Hopkins then, and he was much younger then, had great skill, that he could actually tie you up inside on demand. You also understood that he was cutting corners, right? If his head was on the other side of his opponent's head and the referee was over here, sometimes Bernard Hopkins would lean his head into his opponent, right? Hopkins was looking for whatever edge he could get. Back then, he was actually known as a dirty fighter, highly skilled, but just a little bit outside the lines. Right? Bernard was the kind of guy who, again, he would be holding you, the ref would be on the other side of you, and Bernard would hit you with his other hand, give you a little bit of the business when the referee wasn't looking. The bottom line, though, is Bernard Hopkins, while he knew all the tricks, while he knew how to tie you up in the ring, right? The bottom line was Bernard Hopkins was a great fighter. We know that now. Let me tell you, there was a time when Bernard Hopkins wasn't that accepted in boxing. He'll tell you that. It wasn't until the Felix Trinidad fight when people realized that this guy was a Hall of Famer. That's how it feels right now with Tyson Fury, right? This fight against Steve Cunningham, an absolute mess. Right? These guys are in there grappling, right? Tyson Fury seems to have been too close to the moment, comes in with his left hand dangling around his waistline, inexplicable, right? Ends up getting clocked and dropped in the second round, ironically after an end of the first round where he's taunting Steve Cunningham with his hands dropped, right? Fury was practically begging to get hit with the right hand. If Tyson Fury has critics, and if those critics want to criticize the fighter's attitude, just look at the first 3 rounds of this fight. I mean, it's so ridiculous, it's so pathetic, that at the end of the first round, inexplicably, Tyson Fury walks over to Steve Cunningham and pushes him. After the bell, just pushes him. Now, let me say, maturity-wise, Tyson Fury needs help, right? Tyson Fury, quite frankly, just mentally isn't operating at the kind of professional level that Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko, and Alexander Povetkin, the guys holding the hardware at heavyweight, are. But understand, those guys are in their 30s. Tyson Fury is very much in his 20s, right? He hasn't grown up yet. That's obvious. He seems like a young colt at the racetrack, right? He's bucking, he's weaving, too much energy. But let me put it to you this way. At the start of the 4th round, to the end of the fight, something else takes over. Talent, right? All I want you to do, if you ever get a chance to look at this film, or if you have the film taped, all I want you to do is to look at Tyson Fury's foot speed. It's very important. Keep in mind, he's in the ring with the former cruiserweight champion, Steve Cunningham, who's much lighter and much more mobile than most heavyweights. right? Steve Cunningham can move around the ring. Steve Cunningham's athletic. He's on the end of the spectrum of more mobile fighter, right? He's the kind of guy who can circle a slower moving heavyweight. Tyson Fury moves so well and has such a mobile center of gravity for so big and tall a guy. Keep in mind, he outweighed Steve Cunningham by something like 30 to 40 pounds, right? And keep in mind, he's tall, very tall. But in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, he's able to fight on his front foot. He's able to track down Steve Cunningham. He's in Steve Cunningham's face. He's able to get inside. He actually figured out, after a beginning that had him hanging out like this, and then of course on the canvas after getting hit with the right hand, he actually figured out that he needed to lift that left hand for defense. So he comes in like this. He gives up his height. He tracks down Steve Cunningham. He has Cunningham on one rope, then the other rope, then the other rope, right? He's literally up in Cunningham's face, not allowing Cunningham to circle him, forcing Cunningham to be on his back foot, right? You know how to beat an ambush fighter. It's to follow him after the ambush. I don't say this lightly. In my opinion, Tyson Fury, for all of his emotional troubles, right? All of his emotional problems, and they're many, right? They're many. He needs to grow up. But I can't think of an ambush fighter at heavyweight who can beat him. In other words, I believe if he fights David Haye, I think he smothers David Haye. If he fights Kubrat Pulev, who likes to fight from the outside, I think he smothers Kubrat Pulev. I think this guy is talented. I think this guy knows how to box. It's true that Cunningham got inside and that often Tyson Fury tied him up, held him. Fury wouldn't allow him to land too many inside punches. I would have preferred for Fury to fight inside like he did against Derek Chisora. But understand, Steve Cunningham's really a cruiser, fighting at heavy and is very fast. Right? You're not going to find that kind of speed at heavyweight from too many people. Right? Once Tyson Fury settled down, once he got by the magnitude of the moment, once he actually started using his left for something other than an accessory to his belt, right? Once he figured out how to pull up his trunks, which were seriously in jeopardy of falling off of his body altogether at one point in this fight, once he settled down and actually started fighting, he showed you the kind of skills that, in my opinion, make him an elite heavyweight. I consider him to be an uncrowned champion. Right? I think he has the kind of game that can beat Alexander Povetkin right now. Right? He's mobile. He knows how to fight inside. He knows how to clinch. One of the key punches in this fight at the end was an uppercut. He throws a variety of punches. I know Steve Cunningham said he gives up his height. Understand, that's just Tyson Fury in one gear. He has others. In fact, just looking through my notes, after Tyson Fury came out with his left low on his front foot, talk about a recipe for disaster. He's trying to walk down a guy, and he doesn't even have the common sense to have his defense up. He's walking down a guy like this, basically saying, go ahead and hit me with your right hand. After Fury does that early in the first round, there comes a time in the first round, it's toward the end of the first round, right, when Tyson Fury drops both hands and starts rolling with punches. You actually realize that Tyson Fury can roll with punches. I think Tyson Fury has a lot of Andre Ward in him. In other words, you see him doing certain things in the ring, and you can't even assume that's all he knows how to do, because Tyson Fury is really a chameleon, right? I believe Tyson Fury can fight on his back foot. I believe Tyson Fury can roll with punches. I believe Tyson Fury can fight on his front foot. I believe Tyson Fury, even though he held in this fight and leaned a lot, I think Tyson Fury also has an inside game that he didn't fully show us in this fight. You see more of that in the Derek Chisora fight. So let me just say this. One wonders what would happen if Tyson Fury were to do what nobody seems to be able to do and get inside on Vladimir Klitschko. Right? He got inside on Steve Cunningham. He hunted down Steve Cunningham. He has the foot speed to do it. Right? If Tyson Fury gets inside on Vladimir Klitschko, what happens next? Who do you think has the better inside skills? Keep in mind too, Fury hits hard. We know that just looking at Steve Cunningham on the canvas at the end of this fight. Fury also knows the tricks. You know, George Foreman used to lean on guys. Tall guys know how to lean. I see Vladimir Klitschko doing it a little bit. Tyson Fury is more old school. He really leans on you. He's up on you, draining your energy. If he's able to turn a fight against Vladimir Klitschko into a wrestling match like he turned this one into, I would give him the upper hand. Understand, a lot of the wrestling was where he would be inside, Cunningham would throw a hook, he would get a hand between Cunningham and the hook, then he would tie Cunningham up while throwing punches. I know it looks sloppy, just like it did when Bernard Hopkins was a young man, but it was also effective. So, to sum up, while I'm unimpressed by Tyson Fury at press conferences, while I'm unimpressed by Tyson Fury between rounds when he's pushing an opponent, daring a judge to become disillusioned and to write him off for the rest of the fight, right? Daring a referee to penalize him. Keep in mind, Eddie Cotton, quite frankly, could have disqualified him, right? While I'm unimpressed with that part of Tyson Fury, you know, let's take great heavyweights as we see them, right? Understand, there's actually a part of Tyson Fury that's a collection of skills that few have. I'm not sure if anybody at heavyweight is able to move forward on his front foot as effectively as Tyson Fury. I'm not sure once Fury stops playing around with his left hand by his waist, I'm not sure if it's easy to hit Tyson Fury. And Fury did get hit with a lot of right hands while his left's dangling and while he's talking to Steve Cunningham. But once he raises that left, it actually has his defense up. You know, Cunningham tried to go to his body and found it hard to hit Fury. I think Fury might be better defensively than most heavyweights. Right? So, all I can say is I encourage everyone to look at this tape. I know it looks like a sloppy mess. No question about it. But just the foot speed and Fury's ability to come forward in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 should be an eye-opener. Also, just the fact that Fury at times, you know, early in the fight, I believe it's in the first 2 rounds, Fury at times goes over to the ropes and he's comfortable with his back up against the ropes, right? And for a big man, let me just say this. He's very agile. He's actually light on his feet, right? He doesn't dance around the ring, but he moves awfully well. I think this is an elite heavyweight. I like him to beat Kubrat Pulev. If I were him, quite frankly, I might not even fight Pulev. I might wait to fight one of the Klitschkos. I understand Vladimir Klitschko is going to have to fight Alexander Povetkin in a heavyweight unification match that might tie up both guys for some time, especially since Vladimir Klitschko and Povetkin both have interim matches. So both of those guys might be off the table. But, in my opinion, Vitaly Klitschko would be risking his title. I'm not kidding. If he were to fight Tyson Fury. Understand, Vitaly likes to lean. He likes to just have you at the end of a jab and lean. Tyson Fury is the kind of guy who, quite frankly, is tall like Vitaly and can get inside of the lean and do so without the kind of looping punches that Derek Chisora threw. So in my opinion, Tyson Fury is a championship level heavyweight. He just has to mature a little bit. Somebody in his corner has to have a long conversation with him. He himself has to realize how close he came to getting knocked out in this fight in the second round. It's at the beginning of the second round. Fury legitimately gets dropped. Then when Fury gets up, he's holding a lot, which tells you his head wasn't clear. He's lucky Cunningham didn't load up on that punch more, or we would be talking about Tyson Fury overrated bust. Right? He's lucky he was able to get off the canvas, clear his head, and then turn the fight around in the fourth round. Right? If Fury can get through those maturity challenges, I think you're looking at perhaps the most talented heavyweight out there not wearing a belt other than, in my opinion, and I know it's controversial, Adelaner Solis. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. In the pre-fight video, I talked about how I thought Fury had a shot at a knockout. Understand, it's very hard to, track down and stop Steve Cunningham. I know Steve Cunningham had a problem against Johan Hernandez, right? Cunningham has a chin where sometimes he blacks out. I'll agree with that. But understand there are those Cunningham fights. Cunningham Marco Huck, right? Cunningham Tomas Ademic, where Cunningham's just too mobile to get tracked down. Here in this fight, you'll see that Tyson Fury, a big man, has Cunningham tracked down and up on the ropes as early as the fourth round. Right? Don't sleep on Tyson Fury's foot speed. Let me hear from you. Thanks for watching.